What is going on, everybody? Give me just a second. Well, I guess I can leave that up there. All right, guys, how are you doing today? I'll be taking some questions in the comments. We just got back. I'm in some shorts, feeling much more comfortable than earlier out of the heat. It's pretty hot here. I tell you what, though, I'm liking this weather in Idaho much more than Georgia. It's just as hot in Georgia, but we've got humidity. It's a dry heat here. So I can take that much more. I'm sweating, but just like beating up back home, I'm just like pouring sweat, man. But there's a lot to talk about. Today, to me, was by far the most important day in the history of the John Mast story, I think, ever. I'll say this: if there's anybody out there that doubts John's innocence or that believes those allegations after what you heard today, you really need to check your heart, because you're biased. You have a bias, and you got a narrative. Because there is nothing more that could be said that John could have done to prove it. Today started off with Robert Mast, the father of John, and just let me tell you, that man means the world to me. Kind of like a father. You know, I lost my father back in 2013, and there's something about that man. He knows when I'm in my darkest moments, and he usually pops up on my phone, and I don't know how he does it, but he does. And I think he did really well. But what I was really excited to see was Ashlyn Wiesa. Ashlyn was the supervised visitation manager, and she did most of the supervised visitations between John and Rebecca. I mean, you heard her. There was one incident before where Jim, prior to that day, showed up and said, "I will kill John." Can't get much more clear than that, guys. So this is before. When it comes to premeditated, you know, I wish she would have been brought into the criminal trial. I think I kind of begged for that to happen, and it didn't happen. The hindsight is 2020. I do believe those guys think they had enough when they did that trial. I mean, we had a video of Jim saying it was premeditated and he planned it and got away with manslaughter. Let me tell you what I think the problem is. And I see a few questions. I'm going to get to those in a minute, but I do got some things I want to state. These are very intense cases, even for seasoned prosecutors. The prosecutor in that criminal trial even told me, I don't think he had done a case like this where sexual allegations were involved. And in this community, it's often what we call the silver bullet. It's just a nickname. I guess there's a theory behind silver bullet and stuff like that. And, I'm not getting into all that. It's just a little nickname we use for when somebody uses a sexual allegation to get up ahead in family court. Okay. And when a guy is accused of sexual allegations, from that moment forward, there is nothing he can do. There is people that once they hear that, he is guilty. And I want to make this perfectly clear. If there is a person out there that has sexually abused a child, I don't think there is a punishment out there that would suffice. I think the death penalty is too good for that person. I am 100% against sexual abuse on kids. I think I just posted the other day, I was reporting on, there was a story out of, Jesus, I'll have to go back and find the location, guys, but there was this gentleman, I think he was 37 years old. This 67-year-old man raped his 14-year-old daughter, okay? And he went to jail. At some point, somehow, because our system's that broken, this guy got out on bond for raping a 14-year-old. How do you get out on bond when raping somebody? I'll never know. But at this point, the father's 14-year-old daughter that this happened to went missing. So he went trying to find her. When he found her, guess who had her? And it was a 67-year-old man that was out on bond. What did that father do? He took justice into his own hands. That 67-year-old man, he's not alive anymore. In a case like that, guys, if everything that is said is true, this was a man that sexually abused his daughter, and everything checks out, I think he is a hero. Because anybody that does that to kids, man, you are a sick, sick person if you can sexually abuse a kid. That's why that silver bullet is so dangerous, because it's one of the worst things on the face of this earth you can be accused of. That's why they use it. Because if I tell you that person is that, from that moment on, nobody wants anything to do with that person. They think they are the scum of the earth. And as you heard today, John, when he went through it, he felt singled out. He felt like he was a marked man. And let's be honest, if you're a guy that spent 3 years in the family court fighting those allegations, I want to say it was over $100,000 that the guy spent. I don't know the exact figures, but it was up there, guys. John fought that for 3 years. He was driving 13 hours one way to come spend like an hour with his kid, and then had to drive all the way back. If you do all of that and prove in the court that you're innocent, and then when you go to pick up your kids, you're killed, and then the person that kills you does a video saying it was premeditated and planned, and instead of getting first-degree murder, gets manslaughter and only gets 15 years, I'd say that silver bullet's pretty damn effective, guys. Even in John's death, that thing was working against him. Here we are 5 years later. This trial has mainly been about these years-old sexual allegations. And is that silver bullet still working? Absolutely. Let me give you a little insight. And I had people with me that can attest to this, guys. And I've been trying to contemplate whether I should say this or not. And I feel led to let people know it, because one of the main reasons I wanted to be here, I think one of the main reasons, I can't speak for the family, but I think it's one of the main reasons they wanted to do this. It's about vindication for John. It's letting people know John fought. He wanted people to know. He wanted to, more than anything, he just wanted those kids. He didn't care what was said. He just wanted to see his kids. At the same time, he did want to be vindicated, as he should be. But we go to eat the other day. The people is really nice. We're in the town. They asked one of the crew members, well, what are you guys doing here? Well, we're covering the John Mast trial. I don't know about that trial. Which trial is that? Well, that was where the father got killed in Rosauers in the parking lot. And this is a nice person. They was like, well, look, you know, you shouldn't kill anybody, but I would have hated to be one of those jury members, because if you do something like that to kids, you know, I don't think what the grandpa did was such a bad thing. Literally said that, not knowing who we were, right? But for the general public, they hear that, they see the headline, they know there's a silver bullet, and they don't go into it. They're not the ones traveling to the other side of the country, sitting down with the investigators, trying to find out the real story. They heard that grandpa killed a man, his son-in-law, former son-in-law, that was accused of molesting his kids. If you hear that story and you don't read into it, it kind of sounds like a hero coming to save the day. But that's not what happened here. And unfortunately, I think that's what happened in that criminal trial. There was people that thought this guy was a hero because he saved these kids from what happened. When we started this trial out, what was the opening statement? Hey guys, if you thought somebody sexually molested your kids, what would you have done? There was a reason he made that his opening statement. And I know they're watching this. I saw the family commenting earlier. Hi, how you doing? They want to paint him as a pedo because that's the only thing they can do. If you present the evidence and you present the reports and you present everything else, it doesn't go to your narrative. The only thing that has seemed to work for this family is to make allegations. Don't present the real story because that don't look so good on our side. But you can literally just make an allegation, and then you can spend all these years, all that money, all this time, even die in the process trying to see your kids and still see that allegation work against you. That's how bad that is. And guys, this is going on in the United States of America. It's actually going on worldwide more than anybody knows. I was the guy that used to be like the person at that food stand when I started this because I just wanted to talk about, I knew that men were getting screwed in family court. How did I know that? I was a single dad that was needing to get an attorney to see his kid. They wanted $10,000 on retainer, $400 an hour for everything after that. I literally had a attorney tell me it was cheaper to keep her. And no matter how crazy they are, my best advice to you is to try to get back with them. I'm like, excuse me? Guys, I went to several other attorneys. They all said the same thing. 10,000 on retainer, however many hours, and we can't tell you how many hours that's going to be because if there's conflict, you're going to go through that. I was a single dad, man, doing the best that I could. I'm not a perfect man. There's not a single man on here that is perfect. There's not a single woman on here that's perfect. There's nobody here that's perfect, and anybody sitting here trying to point fingers at somebody else, watch out when you stand in a glass house, guys. That's what goes on in family court. It's about character assassination. Let me dip into your past every little time you did any little thing that was imperfect in your life. I got to bring that up because it's about trying to assassinate your character as much as possible. Family court is about making one parent look bad and making the other parent look as good as they can because there's got to be a winner and there's got to be a loser. And these family courts create this conflict because it makes a lot of money for them. And every time the child is losing, and because of that winner take all scenario, along the way, there was a lot of people that found out, hey, instead of doing all this work and trying to spend all that money, I can just say that they sexually abused or physically abused me, and I can get the kids very easy. And then I put them in a situation that is very hard for them to prove that that did not happen. And guess what happens to me if I make that allegation and I get caught? Not a damn thing. Why don't you think about this, guys? After what you heard today and those witnesses, Jim Brashear, even with that confession video, if you haven't seen it, it's on Dad Talk Today's YouTube. It was evidence. Gave it by the court. For those who might be interested in where I got it, go watch it. It was premeditated. I planned it. 15 years manslaughter. Rebecca Brashear, after all the testimony that you've heard today, John's family has not seen those kids. I don't know where they're at right now. I'm going to be careful with what I say, but she has not faced any legal consequences. If you read between the lines, I guess she's in court. She's having to defend herself right now, but 5 years. John's the one that died. John's the one that got killed. John's the one that spent the money. John's the one that had to prove his innocence. John's the one that went and said, give me a lie detector test. Give me a psychosexual assessment test. Did you guys hear what those investigators said today? Not only did John pass, like they could not believe just how well he did pass. They had never seen anybody more innocent, really, than John. He wasn't scared to do anything. He was cooperative. He's like, bring it on. Give me anything you want. I've thought about the relevance of this, but they talked about it. And so if the family sees this, they seem to trust me, my judgment. And I do think this is important to bring up. For over half of his life, John was Amish. And for anybody that's not familiar with the Amish, I'm not going to go down the education rabbit hole on that because it's pretty big. But you got different level of Amish. The most intense are what's called Schwarzentroopers. And every once in a while, when I'm talking about the John Mast case, if you see somebody with the last name Schwarzentrooper, it's more than likely somebody that's left the Amish, because if they were still an official Schwarzentrooper, there's no car, there's no electricity. They can't use tractors. They can't use anything. They can't look in a mirror because that creates a vain image of yourself. Can't be on camera. Or you got your BG Amish that are kind of like almost like Mennonites. They're allowed to drive cars, and some of them watch TV. It's kind of, you know, different. There's so many different of them, but they're a lot more lenient, let's say, than the Schwarzentroopers. But there is a lot. You can go on YouTube. A lot of people have done documentaries and stuff where they go inside the Amish faith. And I look, there's a lot of things about the Amish that I think are amazing. If somebody in their community is hurting, every single one of them will get together and make sure they're taken care of. They all do like sales and stuff, and the proceeds from that goes to take care of the sick. That's their form of insurance. If someone's hurting in that community, or there's a family that needs help, you can rest assured they're going to be taken care of. That's one of the main reasons. I've done my best to keep it completely separate from here, guys. This is going to be the most I've talked about it, and I'm going to talk about it, and I'm not going to bring it up anymore. I've got another project that I'm working on that I'm very passionate about. I was asked to become a part of it, and it's with the Whitaker family out of West Virginia. And it's a needy family. They've got some mental challenges. Some of them can't talk. Definitely got medical issues and stuff like that too. And they are in a very extreme living situation, and they need a new home. And people have been wanting to get them a new home for years. At one point, there was an influencer that raised like $130,000 for them, and one of the family members got it and spent it on dope. It's sad because they almost had the money to get it. I'm not going to go down that. The reason I'm bringing that up is I'm going to help them get a new home. And that's one of the reasons I'm involved. But because I know of the controversy in the past where there was a scam and money involved and stuff like that, I'm wanting to talk to the Amish, one, about building them the home, because they build a home quicker than anybody you know. I watched the Mast family. One of them, they built their in-laws a home last year from start to finish, guys. It was like a week. I'm not lying. And built well. It's crazy. But I'm wanting them to be able to say, hey, we're the ones that's taking the donations. We're the ones that's getting the money, and then we're going to build. That way there's accountability and transparency there, because I really want to protect that family. And they're very popular. But again, I haven't mentioned anything about dad talk or anything like that on there, because they've been taken advantage of. And I don't want to even get in that of, oh, you're using this to do this. No. But I brought that up. I'm trying to get involved with the Amish there. And after this trial is over, I believe John's dad is going to help me with that. I went through that whole spiel just to say John lived half of his life as Amish. So you think about no TV, no car, no electronics. I don't know if they had electricity or not. I've never ran in with the family about how extreme of the Amish faith. They had to wear a certain outfit and certain, haircuts. I mean, they were just salt of the earth people, guys. Some of the hardest workers you will ever meet. But because of that, John was a little reserved, and I believe socially awkward would be the way to put it. So some people might not know how to take him. And then you couple that with the accusations. And I think that's why some people may have used that with those allegations. And I think it's just so criminal, guys, because if you would take your time and do your homework, and really, I hope that people listen to this case. I had very little time this time to promote it. found out about it 2 weeks ago, and it was like, it's go time. I had to get permission through the courts, get my crew together, make sure we were here, and the whole 9 yards. So I didn't have much time to promote it. I only say that because there's not as many people watching this time as there was last time. Last time, we had a lot of people. All the other media and stuff was in there. They were putting it in the papers. And let me say something else about the media. It's very important. This is why I need you guys' help sharing. We're only as good as the help that we get from you. The last time, a lot of the media reported on this case, and when they would report on it, they would say that there was allegations involved in this case. What they didn't do afterwards is say that there was a trial or several trials that John went through, and that he proved that he was innocent and that the accusations were false. And sometimes it's not the things that they say that creates the problems, it's the things that you don't say, right? Like right now, let's just use, for example, Epstein. It's not so much the things that they're saying right now, it's the things that they won't say. We know there's something there, but because you're not saying it, it's making some people be caught into question right now. And I knew that was going to be a problem. And when I would read that in media, I was getting so upset, because when you're dealing with allegations and silver bullets, guys, it's a tricky one. So I think it was right before the last night of the trial, right before the last day, as I read it again, and it talked about the accusations and didn't set the record straight, I was able to get in touch with one of the managers of the station. And I was pretty hot. I won't lie to you when I was talking to him. I said what I just said to you guys. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's what you don't say. And I was like, look, John did everything he needed to prove his innocence. He's dead. He can't defend himself right now. That's why I'm in there with cameras. That's why I'm talking right now. You need to put that in there, because when you don't put it in there, when people hear the sexual allegations, again, people will think, oh, well, the granddad saved the day. No. Why don't you put in the other story? Because that completely flips this thing around, right? And we had a pretty long conversation. And then finally, because they had to admit it, you know, you're sitting here saying, you're reporting that he's had allegations, but you're not giving the full side of the story. They knew it kind of had him in the corner with it. And they was like, well, what do you want us to do about it? I said, I would like you to do a retraction article. You know how big of a deal it is to ask the media to do a retraction article? I said, I want you to do a retraction article. And I actually got a note from the lady that testified today, and was the lead investigator out of Williston, North Dakota, that was in charge of the investigation with John when it was out there. She said that John passed with flying colors every one of the tests. He actually demanded and wanted the lie detector test and the psychosexual assessment. And she wrote on there and said there was no evidence to show that John was who they claimed he was. He was more than cooperative, and it was actually, go read the note. It was in the last documentary. We put it online for free for a reason, so people would watch it. But if you didn't hear her testimony today, guys, you need to go listen to it. And the media went and did that retraction article. And then they put that letter in there that came from that investigator talking about how John went to those extra links and proved himself innocent. The problem was the case was already 3.5 years old at that point. People had already heard the narrative of the allegations. They weren't used to hearing the other side. And we were on the last day or the last 2 days. I can't remember if it was the last day or the last 2 days, because we was in, how long was we in, Mark? The jury was in deliberations 2 days, right?
It was 2 days.
2 days. But by that time, they tell jurors not to watch podcasts or TV or anything like that. And God, I hope they don't, because you could get tainted on stuff like that. Do I think that they listen to it? God, I don't know. I mean, how do you track what they're doing when they leave that courtroom? I just say that to say that juries can easily be tainted, and they can be biased. The system isn't fail-safe, guys, because look what it did last time. As far as the jury this time, 6 men, 6 women. They seem much more interested in the story, so I'm taking a lot of notes and stuff. I have a good feeling, but I am not going to say anything either way right now, because the last time you would have thought it would have been a slam dunk, and this time you would as well. If you saw today's trial and you listened specifically to the last 3 witnesses, Detective Crane out of Lewiston, Idaho, that was there that night that John got killed and investigated the whole thing, and then the supervised visitation director that supervised the visits with them and the kids, and then the investigator out of North Dakota that drove 13 hours to be here, guys. And she was really cool. And she came walking in the courtroom and walking out with a Glock on her side. I just thought that was so badass. Anyway, you don't see that every day. I'm a big 2A guy, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons. But, that just tells you how much they believed in John. And if you heard that and you still say that there's something about John, you got bias. I'm not going to say your name, man, but as I was leaving, guys, this might upset you. It definitely upset me. At the end of the day, as I was leaving, there was somebody that came up and was like, hey, what's your name? I'm like, Eric. You want to shake my hand? I'm so-and-so. I'm not even going to say which form of media, just say they were from the media. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, well, I would love to talk to you when this is all over with. And he was like, yeah, regarding? And I was like, well, last time we did this, I told him about what the media did. And I was like, look, man, unfortunately, sometimes it's not what you say, it's what you don't say. And there was a lot of people that just have this idea that there's this pedophile and this hero. And I was like, we had all that come out today. Not as many people got to see it this time. He needs to be vindicated. I want people to hear the real story. And the guy literally goes, well, I would hate to be on that jury. I just, it's a hard one. Are you kidding me? If you go by the rules and are we watching the same thing here? Just, dude, that you have to have bias. There's no other way. There's no other way. Because if you're basing it off of evidence, what is hard off of this thing? Literally, if you're basing it off of evidence, back of that cop car, it was premeditated. I planned it, thought about it, and then you go off the evidence that we had here between the emails, the investigators, the supervised visitation director. Are you kidding me? But dude, I mean, that's just the way it goes. I hate to say it, dads are marked. It's not just this case, guys. Chad Reed, he is on YouTube getting shot on the porch of mom's boyfriend. The jury didn't even indict his killer. Tyrone Darling pushing his 3-year-old daughter to his work in a stroller when mom and her girlfriend/boyfriend, her girl, was identifying as a man. They stop, shoot him in the head, get his 3-year-old daughter, take off. They know fully well who did it, where they did it. The jury did not indict her. She got away scot-free. There's just 2 other ones that are reported on. Got nothing. Then we got the Daigle case that just happened, guys. That one blew my mind because it was a little bit different. This whole thing started with John. But just a week and a half ago, I'm reporting on Brett Daigle, who showed up, regular custody visitation, wanting to see his kids. Ex-wife comes out on the porch, shoots him 4 times in the chest. Her father is sitting right beside him, his ex-father-in-law, and his 19-year-old son, as his new wife of 15 months is sitting there holding her hand on his chest, trying to keep him from bleeding out. And his 19-year-old son is leaning over the guardrail saying, don't you think you should call him an ambulance? Guys, when we talk about parental alienation, look, I should really think about this, because then it goes, well, what could he have done to turn the son that way? Even a parent that's on drugs or that abandoned a kid and stuff like that. There's so many cases, we've seen it in CPS. They want to love their parent, even if their parent is horrible. Hate is taught. It's not something that comes natural. To be able to sit there and watch 4 bullet holes in the chest of your dad, and while the life is leaving his body, to be just glossed over, no emotion. And the ex-wife that did this, I mean, she's in jail right now, guys. But these are the cases that we're having to deal with. And John's not a rare situation. And justice, it's been almost 5 years now. You had the Justin Goolsby case that was almost identical to John. I think it's still being heard on. That happened right after John's. Justice doesn't come quick, and sometimes justice doesn't come at all for these guys. And I promise you, people get mad when I say this because it's not a gender issue. Guys, I understand moms can go through it too, but listen to me right now. In a lot of these cases, if you just flipped it around, these dads would be in prison for the rest of their life. And I tell you, there wouldn't be no jury letting it go. These dads, I'm sorry. Nobody believes him. Nobody believes him until this. And people will listen to what they got to say. When this happens, it'll be a really hot topic for a week, and then it goes away. And it's why you haven't seen me on Dad Talk as much. I come on, I try to shout to the rooftops for a father that's been gunned down. People show up, justice, justice, we need to change the system. And then a week later, I'm begging, hey, share this, do this, we need help. It's crickets. Crickets. Dude, if you're on here right now, you can like, you can share, subscribe, comment, do what you can. The more you comment, the more you like, the more it tells social media, oh, this is popular. People are watching it. Let's try showing it to more people. Maybe they'll be interested. I hate that part of it. I can literally go right now and talk about pro wrestling or something like that and get 1,000 viewers instantly. But when I talk about a dad getting gunned down, crickets, man. Crickets. That's a hard one for me to take because this is where my passion is. And if I want to be able to take care of me and my family or do something where people are actually listening, I have to go do something else. I want to be right here. That's just the truth of it, man. I got to get on some of these questions. I get wound up, guys. And you know what? Let me say some of the good stuff. Look at this Airbnb right here, man. It's 100% donated by one of the audience members out there. I don't know if he wants his name out there, but thank you so much. We got here. They had a welcome note for us. This is a huge expense, man. Thank you. It's just little tokens of appreciation like that that help us do what we do. I would love nothing more, and I think nothing would be more effective than all those other custody exchange murder cases that are going on. They need cameras in those courtrooms too, guys. This is how you expose the system. I can confidently say this now, and I couldn't say this back then. You saw me going around meeting with thousands of legislators and interviewing politicians and stuff, but it gave me a lot of knowledge. But was it effective? I know what to do now. I don't have the money to do now what needs to be done. I would love to be able to assemble teams in certain states to be able to go cover these cases inside of the courtrooms. That's just one of the many things that need to be done. Social media has gave us tools that we didn't have in the past to fight with this movement. And I think I know what they're looking for, and I think I can do it in a way that will start getting attention and get some movement going. I do not want to do this podcast anymore. Everybody's got a podcast now. They're not as popular as they used to be. It's not a money maker for me, regardless of how it might look. Yeah, I got a huge following. Guys, look how many people's watching right now. It's not what people think it is. They think you got a big following. They think, dude, we need a lot of work to get this movement where it needs to be, guys. I had a lot. It wasn't until I started doing content in other places I realized just how hard it is to get these dads heard. And it's sad that the only time they can get an audience to listen to what they're going through is when they're in a casket. We've got to change that, man. Amanda Carroll said, Hickey did a good job. Yes, he did. Both of the attorneys, I think, did a great job in today's case. Kevin was the original attorney in John's case that helped him get custody when he went to go pick up his kids and was killed. So he's been involved with that for a while. He's been on Dad Talk numerous times. Mia Lynn Overton said, Rebecca is a train wreck and pokes holes in her own story. I'm just going to read your comments on it. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Some of them, I'm just going to read for right now. I'll give comments on it later. General Miller said, do you think she gets a perjury charge? Her story was all over the place. They are really trying to justify his death. Perjury charge. Geez, wouldn't you think so? Unfortunately, guys, this is, who remembers O.J. Simpson? If you lived during that time, I don't know how you couldn't remember O.J. Simpson. The Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial was a pretty big trial. And let me say, I think if people would actually tune in, this trial right here and what we saw today on that stand would blow away the Heard and Depp case. To me, that's just me, but because they're celebrities, they'll get all the tabloids. But the OJ case, the biggest court case since I've been alive, I think they said it did the biggest ratings of all time, especially because of the chase. OJ was found not guilty of murdering Nicole Brown. There's another injustice with the system. I don't care. I think what happened with that is it became racially motivated, and there was bias in there because of race. Dude, if you look at that case, and I looked into it again not too long ago, he had their blood inside of his Bronco. Nicole's and Ron's had it inside of his house. It was on his shoes. There was so many things on that case. It's like, dude, you couldn't have any more evidence. Not guilty, because he was able to persuade the emotions of the jurors. However, afterwards, there was a civil trial, wrongful death case, and OJ was found guilty for their death. That's basically what you're seeing here. We had the criminal trial for Jim. He was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter. And we were supposed to be hearing on second degree and first degree murder. He got voluntary manslaughter. But this case is civil. It's a wrongful death trial. And so I think any punishment is just financially. I can tell you, I think the Mast family, the biggest reason they are wanting to do this is to vindicate John, and so that the story gets out. Reading some of your comments here, man. I thank you for the support. You guys got some questions, fire them at me. Just bear with me. I'm doing this from my cell phone. I usually have my desktop when I'm at home, and it's so much better, so much easier. Dude, there's no comment that you can say that makes me feel better than this right here. Todd Ashley said, John is proud of your efforts. I'm sure of that. John means a lot to me, Todd. I knew John. I didn't know John for long. I would have liked to have met him and known him longer. I beat myself up numerous times knowing that I had access to him and I didn't give him more time. I didn't know this was going to happen. But it was those times, dude, when you do with the family court stuff, the thing I get more than anything, guys, if I opened up my inbox right now and showed it to you, I've literally got over 10,000 unanswered emails right now. And I guarantee you 99% of them are people saying, hey, I got a custody case that is crazy. You've never heard one this messed up, and I want to tell it on your show. Or I need to talk to you about my case. When I first started Dad Talk, I tried to talk to each one of those guys, and then I very quickly found out there was not enough hours in the day, and I would go until the end of the night trying to listen to them, and I still couldn't get to everybody. And then I would get on social media and see somebody talking about how I'm a fake or a fraud and calling me all kinds of names just because they wanted to come on the show and tell their story or wanted me to give them a phone call, and I didn't have time. And I struggle with that, man, because I do care. I mean, I do. And because of that, you know, those comments really sucked. But I had to come to grips with, you can't save the world. You do what you can. But I had numerous times, like I would be having a good day, and then I would get in the comments or see something on social media, somebody throwing that at you or trying to say you're about the money. Let me tell you something, bud. If you want to make money, this is the last thing in the world you want to do. This is a time commitment. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I had depressing days, and there was times I wanted to quit. My wife has been my rock and really helped me through this thing. But just like John's dad that I told you about, guys, there were several times a message would pop up in between those messages begging me, you need to hear my story. You need to hear my story. You need to put me on your show. And it was John just telling me that he was thinking about me, wanted me to take care of myself. Thank you for your hard work. And that he was watching every episode. He wasn't saying you need to hear my story or my case is bad or anything like that. Nope. And guess what? He had one of those extreme cases, but that's not what he was reaching out for. It was just to let me know he was thinking about me. I'll never forget that, man. It means even more to me now, knowing what I know now. And I didn't know it back then. But I did. And then later on, when I did, want to give a platform on Thanksgiving, he was always the first one to sign up when I had something where parents could speak. And I know he's proud of my efforts. I know John would be proud. I know he would want it on Dad Talk. There's a reason he came to Dad Talk. Neither John nor I knew all these years later we'd still be talking about his story on here, but it would be me doing it, not him. Me and John were destined to meet for the little time that we did. And yeah, that comment means a lot, man. I often think, what would John think of what we've done, and what would John want us to do? One of the crazy trips that I did with the advocacy work, I think it's been about 2.5 years ago. John's dad and myself, I went out to Dallas, Texas for a week. I was there for a whole week covering CPAC in Texas. I was there to interview politicians because it was when retroactive child support was first being mentioned, where they want dads to pay an extra 9 months in child support, the conception while she's pregnant. And there was also a statement in there, or a part of that says she doesn't have to do a paternity test. So you're going to have to pay 9 extra months in child support, and then she doesn't have to prove that you're the daddy, so she can literally go pick the daddy. And so I went there just to interview politicians, to tell them about that and try to get it squashed. But I was there for a whole week. And then after that, I got on a plane from Dallas and went straight to Boise, Idaho, where John's family lives, met John's dad. As soon as I got off the airplane and met John's dad, we drove 10 hours to Billings, Montana. And then over the next 4 days, we drove 2,700 miles, guys. No lie, 2,700 miles. And we went through all of Montana, all of Washington State, all of Oregon, and all of Idaho. And what we did is we visited every supervised custody visitation center in those states because they had started the John Mast Foundation and wanted to do this in John's honor. And at that time, we had no data to pull from. We were wanting to find a way, how can we make it to where these guys can stop getting killed? That was the thing. There's a lot of people that say, well, exchange your kids at the police station. Well, that's not the answer, because let me tell you, a lot of these custody visitation murders, custody exchange murders happened at the police station with the police present. So that wasn't working. I had an idea, like, what if these supervised, visitation centers, if they could have it to where there's like a drop off. Mom brings the kid, drops them off, and then she leaves. And then maybe 10 minutes or so later, dad shows up, gets the kids, then he leaves. That way, in these high conflict cases, mom and dad do not meet each other. Is that going to be a fail-safe thing? No, because if a parent wants to kill another parent, they're going to find a way to do it. They're going to find a tool to do it with. You can take away guns. Will it still happen? If they got hatred in their heart and they want something, it will happen. But can we limit how much is happening was the point. And then would it be viable for them to do that? Would they have the means? And we visited every single one of those centers, except the ones that wouldn't meet with us. The ones that wouldn't meet with us, oddly enough, straight across the board, ask John's dad, straight across the board, the ones that got government funding from VAWA, the Violence Against Women's Act, would not talk to us, didn't want anything to do with us. The ones that were independently funded did talk to us. But we just found out they wouldn't be able to set it up. And then how do you promote it? It was a lot involved, guys. It was a lot involved, but I know John would also be proud of that. When getting involved with this, the first thing I think of is, what can we do? What could we have done in John's case that if it was done, he would still be alive? And that's how I try to ask myself if, like, these ideas to get involved, if they would be effective. What would have kept John alive? Would that have kept John alive? I don't know. I don't know that we can answer that question. But yeah, guys, give me some questions in. I'm going to get off here before too long because we're going to try to go get us something to eat. We ate Papa John's last night, and Uber Eats had a 2-for-1 special. So the one that was left over, oh man, I talked so much I got dried spit in my lips. The one that was left over, that was lunch today. So who does she have at CPS under her thumb? Todd Ashley asked. I don't know if she has anyone under her thumb, but it's one of those, when you make an allegation that, hey, this dad touched his kid, they have to go in there and do something. And rightfully so. I'm not against that. If you got an allegation and it's of that, it needs to be investigated. Right? And I think it was used at convenient times. So, yeah. It's about as far as I'll go with that one. Mia Lynn said, John was probably just naturally an introvert because of his nature, a quiet, steady man. That was it. That was it, man. Um, how much time did she spend smearing John around the community, and who was the lead journalist on this trial? Um, I don't know if I can officially say this about myself. I would say I was definitely the lead journalist. I was the one in the courtroom that was providing it all. I wasn't. I don't know that I was supposed to be. I mean, it's pretty sad that you got a guy from Georgia that doesn't have hardly any money or a big crew or anything like that that flies all the way here and can cover it better than the local media. I mean, it was easy for me to actually do actual journalism where I got both sides of the story, and I went and put out the details and found out, yes, he went through allegations, but he actually proved himself innocent. I think it's pretty sad because it's a small town. I was told this is one of the biggest stories that ever happened here. You mentioned the Rosauers parking lot shooting, and everybody in this area knows about it. So I'd say it was probably it was either lazy journalism or biased journalism that they wouldn't report on John proving his innocence. So lead journalist, I know who wasn't really a journalist at all. That would be an easier question. What's going on, Bobby? What is going on? Thank you, guys. I just think this case right now, with what we saw today, guys, this could be the handbook for narcissism and alienation. The video today, when it's all said and done, I told myself one thing. Some of the most work I've ever done with Dad Talk, even after all those trips. I was telling you about the 2,700 miles we drove. That was just one of the trips. I did one similar in the Northeast where I did the whole Northeast in 1 week, dude, and went to the capitals and marched it. We put in a lot of miles, 43 states in 2022. I went to going to the capitals, talking to legislators. When I say I don't think that legislation is the way to go and that legislators just tell you what you want to hear, and I don't think really want it to change because the majority of your legislation is attorneys that make money off the problem, and that it's like going to the cartel and asking the cartels not to distribute fentanyl or sell drugs anymore. That's what it's like going to a politician and asking them to change family court. When I say that, I might know a little bit of what I'm talking about because 2022, 43 states, hundreds, I believe probably over 1,000 legislators interviewed. It's crazy. Just telling the drug dealers to stop dealing drugs. It's their business. And those politicians have too much incentive inside of the family court to want it to change. Yep. I see your comments, and a lot of them I agree with. Abe Peachy, and I do believe, Abe, tell me if I'm wrong or not. I think you were a personal friend of John. He said, we need many more of you that film courtrooms to keep our public servants accountable for one and transparency to the public. Dude, I think that's absolutely right. If we could get more cameras in the courtroom, and this judge, I think is the best judge that I've ever seen. The problem with getting cameras in the courtroom is finding courthouses and judges that will allow it. And then would be getting the crew there. I know me, myself, I'm just getting here. I'll just put this out there for transparency. If it wasn't for the Mast family, I wouldn't be here. They want John's story to be out. They made sure it was possible for me to be here. And the guy that donated this Airbnb, I've been putting the link out for people to support us. And there's been people that have supported us. Thank you. But if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here because we wouldn't have been able to pull it off. It's expensive. It just is. Travel alone, coming out here, just me, is like $1,500 for a plane flight. So yes, we need more cameras, but in order, this is the part people usually check out and start leaving the feed and like, I can't listen to that anymore because it's the part that nobody wants to be involved in is funding. If we had funding, we could put the cameras in the courtroom. We do a lot of things. But I think there's nothing better than putting that camera in the courtroom for everybody to see. You get to see the corruption for yourself. You got to see it a lot there today. A lot. One of the questions said, wouldn't this trial open the door to have the kids go to their grandparents, at least on a regular basis? One would think so, right? I mean, wasn't it one of the witnesses that said today, and the investigator said, it's my opinion that the kids need to be out of that environment. It's not a good environment for them to be in. So I'll leave that statement of theirs. You can go watch it for yourself. I'll leave that with you to answer your question. I would think so. Maria Morris, I hope this wrongful death trial sets a loud tone as a turning point for change. That's coming from a woman who was 1 week away from marrying a man that she was deeply in love with, and he was shot by his ex-father-in-law and went through sexual allegations as well, shot by his father-in-law at a custody exchange and died too. That was the one that was almost identical to John Mast. Only difference is I think John was shot 3 times with a 9. Justin was shot 4 times with a 45. Yeah. Tori Hernandez said there's not enough podcast and time to expose all the corruption involved in family court. No, there's not. But I mean, even if there were more podcast guys, podcasts used to be so much more effective than they are now. Now there's just so many podcast guys, and there's so much entertainment and streaming apps and Netflix and Hulu. There's so much, and they're all fighting for people's attention. Now, when it comes to really important issues like this, unless you have involvement in it or somebody that's going through it, people rarely want to come over because, let's be honest, the stories are sad. I don't want to hear about sad stuff all the time. If I come home from work and I'm just wanting to sit down and relax, do I want to really sit down and listen to the guy that got killed in the parking lot trying to be in his kid's life? No, I want to watch The Simpsons with my kids, or something like that. It makes me happy. People avoid it. I understand why they avoid it. There was a time, I've been on break for the past couple of years, I had to get my mind off of it. When you're logging in every day, seeing a new dad or a new kid get killed, that was what I had to look forward to every morning. I can't do it. So do I expect people to be viewing this all the time? There's a reason it's not. There's not enough podcasts. There's not enough stuff out there exposing it. But there is ways that we can, in doses that they can take. Funding is the issue. I'm telling you, if I had the funding, this thing would be over with. I make that sound way too easy. The change that would be needed or that could be made, and the movement behind it, it would be easy with the funding, because I know how to do it and I know it would work. But I just these traditional forms, they're not what they used to be, man. They're just not. Also, there is no more reason for Becky not going to jail. Doesn't the record show and reflect that this was premeditated murder, and clearly Becky was part of it? In addition, she can be charged with false allegations under oath and criminal conspiracy. I don't know, Becky, what do you think? You're probably watching this. I don't know if I should have done it. I don't know. She may be not. I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of information there. Absolutely. Thank you, Tori. No, I'm not going to quit. Thank you, Miller. Thank you. Luke Forth, hey, Eric, thank you for updating me on this. I remember this from the start of it, and this has been dragged on. The Mast family should be able to see them kids. It breaks my heart. Dude, the one thing I'm looking forward to for that family is them to be able to relax and not have to feel like they got to be chasing this all the time. I'm sure they will forever talk about John and his case, but for them to have to relive this over and over and over, it's exhausting. For the sister and the brother that was there in that parking lot to have to tell that story time and time again. I don't want to ask them to tell it anymore. It's just too hard, man. It's rough. And, you know, the sad thing is we got to keep telling the story because it's going to happen again. It's still happening. It's still happening. Douglas Pruitt, why did the Brashears represent themselves? Is that normal in this type of court hearing? I wouldn't think so. No, I wouldn't think so at all, man. If I had to guess, probably lack of money. Attorneys are expensive. That's why a lot of us can't see our kids, because we can't afford attorneys. So he's in jail or prison. He's not working. I don't know what their financial situation is, but I mean, that's probably got something to do with it. She's not the best version of Magnum PI I've ever seen, or Matlock. Man, I accidentally touched something and it skipped over a bunch of the comments. So if you had questions, start getting them towards the bottom. It's really hard to read them on here. Alienating grandma today was powerful. Yes, it was. I'm going to try to get to these. General Miller, did Rebecca comment on you and your crew filming the trial? No, she did not. I was told, I know last time we weren't exactly wanted there. I'm there with pride. I'm loving it. I know what I'm there for. I'm there for you guys. I'm there for John. I'm there for the movement. But as far as filming, I know, who was it? She said, you took part in a documentary that made me out to be a killer. And like, we never made her out to be a killer. We just told the story. Hey, be mindful, we're live. But who was it that she said you were a part of a documentary that painted me out to be a killer or something like that? You know what I'm talking about? Becky
got on the stand.
Who was she? Yeah, who was she? It wasn't when she was on the stand, she was questioning somebody.
Robert.
It was Robert.
Yeah.
Robert Mast.
Yeah.
It was Robert. John's dad today.
Were you a part of a documentary that painted me out to be a murderer?
Yeah. So she mentioned that as far as us being there filming. I'm sure she has. I saw her family in the live chat today. You know, let me say this, because I do not represent the Mast family. I do represent this movement and John as it pertains to that, because John's dad, I posted about him today. He's a much bigger and better man than I will ever be, because he did something today, guys, I don't think many men could do. And you know, I want their family to hear this too, because I know he was watching earlier. Because he meant it. He sat about 10 feet away from the person that killed his son and said that he forgave him. He had gave forgiveness, and that his biggest worry right now is that their soul is right with God. Let me go even further, because there might be some people that say, well, he only does that because he's on the stand or because there was cameras going and he wants to look good. Dude, private conversations, when I'm like, how are you doing or what's going on? His worry has been, I just hope Jim has found a way to get right with God. And if he would just, you know, on up to it, honestly, if he would have came and asked for forgiveness of the Mast family, and said he was sorry and meant it. I don't know what would be going on right now, because could I sit there and watch somebody that killed one of my babies and say, I forgive you? You would have to restrain me so I wasn't jumping over that stand. I know who I am. Yeah, there's no way. Well, that's who Robert Mast is. That's who the Mast family is. When they talk about forgiveness, because that's what God called for us to do in the Bible. And I told you I'm an imperfect person. But when he talks about that forgiveness stuff, he means it. That whole family means it. And so you have a family that would be open, I think, to talking about forgiveness and hoping the best for you, even though this has been taken against them. And I don't know many other people that would be going up against a family that would get something like that. So, bigger man than I am. Way bigger man. Bobby Burke said, when you have court issues to deal and always bring family and friends to watch, that was something that I should have done. You know what, dude? It's nice when we get on here and see you guys support. Lisa Catalano's, we need a bazillionaire to fund this movement. Yes, we need Elon Musk. Elon, where are you at? When it comes to the Jeff Younger case, he's been what Jeff Younger went through. And if we could get in touch with somebody like that, we don't need nowhere near what the opposition's got to make change, guys. Nowhere near. If we had 1% of what they've got, we could flip this thing around and change that system. Because here's the difference. We don't need a bunch of money to make up a bullshit narrative. We need money to get out these dads' stories. And I need to do it in a way where it will get distributed and seen. And it's got to be certain stories. There's certain ones that move the needles, and there's certain ones that don't. I hate to say this, but it's just the truth. The majority of people that come in here thinking that their case is something special and that it's like one of the worst ones, I hear it and I'm like, dude, I've talked to 10 of you today. And it sucks to feel like, hey, I'm just another number, but this is so real to me and it's ruining my life. Yeah, I get it. But a lot of your cases are not uncommon. We don't need that much. We got to be able to tell their stories. We don't need to create a fake narrative like they do. And we don't need to, I don't know. It's just getting those stories out in a way that it needs to be. And I know how to do it. I actually have the stuff to make some high quality movies. You guys might not see it. So what's going on in that courtroom right now is we have great, I sound like Tony the Tiger, equipment. But when you live stream, you can only do a certain quality. And then by the time it goes through the cables and over the wireless, there's only so much quality you can get out of it. But I've got the studio, drones, microphones, you name it, to make stuff. I need the camera operators and I need the editors, and they get paid by the hour. And that's where the expense comes, in the traveling. And if I could do that and get a bunch of this made up, let me throw this out there. If there's somebody that has a case similar to John, or was going through these accusations and got that story and like, hey, my story is one of those stories that would make a difference. I want to make a documentary about it or something like that. If you will do your own fundraising and get the money together, we will come and do it. I don't want to be involved in the fundraising. You do that part. And you showed me that you'll do the legwork and you'll raise the funds that it takes for us to get out there and do the job. We'll come in and do our part. And I promise you, the part we do is not easy. It's time consuming. But I'll throw that out there to anybody in the movement that's wanting to get theirs out. You know, show us that you're not just somebody saying, hey, help me, and here's my story, and then expect to sit back and just somebody take it from there. You do your part, you raise the funds, and you get active. That people like to see you involved, and that'll definitely get my attention. Chris Bowen said, do you think that when Becky goes to the zoo, the elk... Come on, man. Come on.
Dude, if John was such a bad guy, why does Becky still have him?
Tori Hernandez said, Robert Mast's testimony speaks volumes to the love a man has for his child and God. I'm with you, though. I'm not sure I could ever forgive. I'd have to leave that up to God. I mean, I feel the same way. Karen Moniz said, Robert Mast is a real man of God. Anyone who knows him knows this. Well, look, man, my dad was a pastor. I'm told this. I feel like a broken record when I say it. My dad was a pastor. Both of my grandfathers, my mom's dad and my dad's dad, were pastors too. My uncles, a lot of my cousins, I came from my family rich in ministry. I quit school when I was 16, got my GED, and by 16, I was in Christian college trying to become a minister. So I've been around a lot of Christians. I've been around a lot of them that call themselves Christians. And that kind of speaks for itself. But, you know, I've had a lot of people pray for me and stuff like this. I'll never forget this. I was at CPAC, and when I get really zoned in with the movement, kind of like we was today, I was interviewing politicians and stuff like that. And if you don't get them when they come around, you're not going to get it. They leave and you never see them again. So I didn't like to leave the booth. I stayed on Media Row. A lot of times I wouldn't even go use the bathroom until it was like last minute and then run back because I just got Dr. Ben Carson or, you know, Jim Jordan or something like that. Interviewed the Speaker of the House. You just don't want to leave your booth and didn't or anything. So I remember that day I started at like 8 o'clock that morning and at 10 o'clock that night, that was when we ended 14 straight hours of interviewing, dude. Every 5 minutes, a new person sitting down and you're rolling, you know, and getting their story and telling them about father's rights and parental alienation. And that night, Robert and his son Sam came on that trip. And when we was on our way back to the hotel, from having that, if you've never done a podcast, you have a white light on you, and it just something about it. Have you ever been in the hospital and you get that really bad headache from the white lights around you? That's what it was like. I hadn't ate, and like I am now, this is like my 5th cup of coffee. I think because I hadn't ate, I probably drank about 10 cups of coffee that day. I had the world's worst headache, man. And I remember going back to the hotel, and Robert and Sam just came walking by, and they was like, "We really want to pray for you. Do you mind if we pray for you?" And I was like, "No, that's okay." And but you could see the look on their face; it was sincere. And they prayed for me. And usually, I'm a bigger guy. I have to take about 5 Tylenol or 5 ibuprofen. It's the only thing that'll take my headache away. But they prayed for me. I went back to the room, and my headache was gone, guys. I had never felt the power of God that present as I did with that family. I'm telling you, if you haven't met that family, you just got to meet them. There's something about them. When they say stuff, they mean it. And
One of the best men I've ever met.
yeah, Mark said it was the best man he ever met. John was their son. Robert was his father. That's who raised John. When you make allegations against somebody from that, no way. No way. You could not have made it against somebody more unbelievable in your life. Again, maybe there was some social awkwardness there, reserved, quiet, but just people of values. People of value, such great people. And again, seeing a lot of these comments come in, thank you so much.
And if any of that was true, why does Rebecca still have John's last name?
Yeah. So guys, at this time, I'm gonna, if you got any last minute questions, bring them in. I'll look at it real quick. If not, we're about to roll out. We still got a little bit to do. I wanted to come in and kind of do this recap. We will be back in the morning. What'd they say, 8:15?
Yeah, it'll be in
courtroom 2 taking over particulars.
Yeah, so what's going on, guys, is in the morning, and they did it this morning too, there's actually 5 courthouses, and there are 5 courtrooms inside of this new courthouse. We was in the old courthouse last time. This one's brand new. They've only been in it 6 weeks. A lot nicer. There's a lot of logistics that we got to figure out, and we're working on the fly to make sure that stream goes good. But in the morning, because the jury is in courtroom 3, in the morning, we'll be starting off in courthouse 2, and he'll be bringing the attorneys and the family and the defense and everything in there, getting the instructions and the game plan for the day, and making sure there's no objections on the evidence or anything that's going on tomorrow. So, and if everything's good, they'll move it to courthouse 3 at that point, just move everybody on over where the jury is present. They don't let the jury hear that part. They make sure it's all this good so that when the jury hears it, everybody's, cohesive and stuff like that. So, but that starts at 8:15. That might push us back to around 8:30 starting the stream. I want to bring you in there to let you hear the preliminary stuff, but what happens is we have to move our whole film setup over to the courtroom just to give you those 5 extra minutes, and that's a whole lot of setup. But we might do it. I don't know yet. We might do it. I'll just have to see and what's going on. Douglas Pruitt, great question. Let me throw that up there. He said, is tomorrow the last day of trial? So we think so. There's one witness left, and you're going to want to see that. So early in the morning, 8:15, that's 11:15 Eastern, 10:15 Central, 9:15 Mountain, and 8:15 Pacific. I am proud of myself for doing that. I'm starting to get a little bit better at it. It makes it very confusing when you're a podcaster and you're interviewing somebody and they got different time zones. But I don't think I did too bad. The first and only witness of tomorrow being called on the stand is Jim Brashear. So we're starting off the day with a banker. And then after that, we're done. Yeah, defense gets to do whatever they're doing. And I would think it should be done, and it would be up to the jury to reach a verdict. So last time we thought we would have a verdict pretty quick, and then it went for 2 days. So pray, guys, we get a swift verdict and that justice is done. Because I am scheduled to be gone Thursday morning. I mean, if I got to, I'll make plans. I've already switched plane tickets twice already. If I had to do it a 3rd time, we'll do it. But that's what's scheduled for tomorrow. Todd Ashley, if we raise funds, I guess they would do a documentary. What would that look like? That would be whatever you do it with. You just raise funds to get your story out. And then we will take it. Once you get the funds raised up, we'll take it and do the story from there. But you would be responsible for that. Tell people what you're doing it for, why you're doing it, and what they would get in return, their name in the credits or something like that. And you're doing it to help dads get a fair shake. I could give you some ideas on behind doing it. I just don't want to be involved in raising money. I hate doing it. I do it when it's necessary. I've been putting up the links over the last couple of days, and so last minute when I got to Denver the other day, my connecting flight to come here was gone before I even got there, and they didn't have another flight to come here for 2 days. And it was Frontier Airlines. I'll never fly them again. It was the first and last time. And then they took me to Denver, someplace I did not need to be for no reason. I left from Atlanta, Georgia, the world's busiest airport that has many different options. They get me in Denver, don't have any more flights coming off to come to where I was coming for 2 days. And they didn't want to give me a refund. And I still ain't gave me the refund. And they wanted me to book a brand new ticket. And it was like $600 just to get a ticket to come to here because the last minute. It was, dude, I won't go into specifics. It's a lot. So just between travel and all that, if you can raise that, we'll take it from there, and then I'll do a meeting with you guys and just give you some ideas and stuff like that on how you can do it. But the story has to be right. I'm not just, look, as much as I need money because I got to pay for my family and I need to make a living too to keep the lights on. I'm not just going to get involved in any story. It's got to be one that's meaningful. It's got to be something that I believe in, that I know that the dad is who the dad says he is. If I see at any point in time that I think that dad is doing something he's not supposed to be doing, or they're hard to get along with, or the story is not what it says, I won't get involved in it. So it'd be one of those, before you do it, like, you know for sure that you're going to do it, sit down. I need to know that it's a story I'll get behind, and I'll give you some ideas on how to do that. I've never had anybody do it yet because I haven't talked about it. It's something I want to do because I love making films. I do. And I think they are very effective, very, very effective. And I'm not looking at doing 2-hour films. I'm talking about like 7 to 10 minute films, guys. Believe me, they're way more effective. Sometimes less is more. Yeah, asking about the film schools and stuff. I tried that before. It's not, it's very hard to get it in my neck of the woods. But all right, guys, that's it. We are going to go get us some food. And I got some nice ladies. The last time I was here, there was this older lady that was very into this. She was so sweet. And she donated a car to Dad Talk. And I was like, what are we going to do with the car? But it was her way of trying to help us raise funds so we can make the documentary that we made. And we raffled that car off. And you want to hear about something more awesome? After we raffled that car off, the person that won it donated it back to us. So there was a lot that went on, but we raised, I think it was about 20 grand last time to make that last film. And we had 5 people here on location that had to get to Idaho. We had a full film crew. Then we had the travel, the camera equipment. And then we had to go to Boise, down to John's grave and everything last minute. But yeah, it added up quick, but we did it. And now you've got the complete story. I'm hoping this is going to give the story the ending, the justice that was needed. We'll see. Tomorrow, I think, should be it. So I love you guys. We'll see you bright and early in the morning. You can go right now on Dad Talk Today. There's the link. It says John Mast Wrongful Death Trial Day 3. If not, I'll be posting it on my personal profile in the morning for everybody to see. And that's it. We're going to do it again. I stand with John. Hey, you stand with John?
Yeah, I'll sit down right now.
Yeah, well, I stand.
I stand.
I stand with John. Y'all stand with John. We all stand with John. Put it down in the comments. I love seeing them. So something that you could do tomorrow, I'll throw this out there. And people used to do it. And again, it's been almost 5 years. And so people forget. John it was symbolic for him with his fight for his kids. Candles in the window that he kept lit. And it was like a symbol of his fight for his kids, that it would never go out. So the family always had something to do with candles. In the comments with that hashtag I stand with John, if you don't mind, put those candles in there. And those well wishes. The family does see it. They do appreciate it. And they told me at one point in time, the best thing they had was knowing that there was our community, what we're doing right here behind them, because there was so many people that believed the silver bullet. And they knew they weren't doing it alone. We have somebody here fighting with John. Yes, there might be people that sit there and believe the BS narrative, but there's also other people that are pushing back and that are helping us fight with John, right? And so I can tell you this, that silver bullet's still there. Anybody that doubts anything, go watch today. Serious. How many of them will do it? Probably not many. There's people that want to believe the narrative, and there's always going to be people that no amount of information will do. And so, and misery loves company. So there's usually people to join them. But today was a good day to stand with John. Tomorrow is going to be a great day to stand with John. And here very shortly is going to be a very good time to stand up from the table because I'm going to be full from a cheeseburger. See you tomorrow morning. Love you guys.